What I want to do is really just talk about how the influence of Asia has really affected pretty much the entirety of the world. And I don't think everybody realizes how much Asian products, technique is most of what I grabbed from, really affects food all over. For instance, simple things. Let's just think Venice, agrodolce, or sour, sweet and sour. How many of you had sweet and sour, right? Sweet and sour chicken. Same concept, right? Fish sauce. Everybody know fish sauce? There's a pretty heated debate right now, which I keep prodding with a cattle prod on a regular basis. The Italians have a product called garum. Garum is actually Roman, actually pre-Roman. It's the Etruscans. There's a debate over whether or not it was information shared cross-culturally, or did one get it from the other? Or did one have it first, or they both have it at the same time? There's old recipes of Roman haggis that actually would use pine nuts, raisins, and garum as the salt to actually stuff these Roman haggis, Italian version of haggis, which is made with pork. So there's so much crossover. It's kind of, I think it's overlooked every day. You know, the way I cook is very much so acid and herbs before salt, which is a very traditional Asian, Southeast Asian way of cooking. I use tons of herbs in everything I do. I worked very fortunate enough to work with Chef Mark Miller. A lot of you know who he is? Mark Miller started the Southwestern food revolution. Mark really impressed upon me this love of acid and herbs before salt. And I think to me it was a really, really poignant change as a young cook, because what is the first thing everybody does to add flavor to something? They instantly go, salt, salt. And they keep hitting it with salt. And what does it do? It just blows out your palate. All you need is a little bit of salt to open up those taste buds. And then when you're having all these beautiful herbs and a little bit of acid, it really just pops and lives, and it just grows on that palate. And the more you eat it, the more it grows. So I'm sure most of you have had pho, and you get all your goods on the side. Broth is pretty straightforward. It's not just straightforward. There's a lot of special spices in there to me that are really important. What I'm going to do today is two fruits that are in season right now. So we have heirloom tomatoes, really beautiful watermelon, some Thai bird chilies, got some nice heat to it, lime, fish sauce. So tomato and watermelon salad, you see it everywhere, right? How does it vary? How does it change? Well, we're going to do a little grilled squid, okay? If this gets, it's hot. Like, it is actually really hot, but I don't know if it's super hot to grill. So what I'm going to do is start building this and just kind of explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I've got two of my good guys in the back over here who are going to magically make 70 orders of it. Just come flying out really fast, okay? Umami-rich foods are found in Parmesan, cured meats, tomatoes, grilled meats, right? So you start thinking about all those, and then you look at Italian food. Umami, umami, umami. When I went to Japan, all the new hot restaurants were Italian restaurants. That's all that was opening when I was in Tokyo. It was all different Italian, high-end Italian restaurants. Because of the umami-laden food that was just naturally happening that way. But by adding fish sauce to the tomatoes, I'm going to boost that umami level, okay? So I'm going to have to use less salt. So remember, that does have a salt content to it. Black pepper. You go out, you get fish sauce, noakbam, with shredded carrot and chilies in it, and you're supposed to pour it over your noodles, right? Especially if you get a dish of bun, okay? So you mix that in. This is kind of that same premise. The vinaigrette that I'm making is based on that. So instead of it just being fish sauce and shredded carrot, I'm using fish sauce with lime juice and chili, and the black pepper I'm adding in. So when I went to Japan, every grilled meat was served with sesame oil on the side, black pepper. And you would dip it in the sesame oil, dip it in black pepper, and you would eat it. And that was at all the robatas and all the yakitori spots. So I really kind of beg and borrow from all these different cultures to kind of blend and make these flavor profiles that I really like. And I think that work really well with food. I just kept on immersing myself in it. You know, it was like I lived in the inner Sunset. I was on Irving Street, eating. And, I was always eating. And then I moved to the other side, and I would always go out for noodles or go have pho, or I would be having congee in the morning with grease sticks, And it was always just like this immersion, right? Am I wrong? It's a grease stick. It's a cruller, right, with salt on it and lots of grease, and you dip it in your congee, and it's perfect. But it was such a really unique immersion coming from Rhode Island, where I lived. Everybody was a white lily, We didn't have this unique culture that's here. My wife introduced me to sushi when I was 21. I'd never had it. I grew up in a fishing community, and we didn't have sushi. So I moved to DC, and my wife's like, we're going to have sushi. I'm like, awesome, let's go. No idea, clueless. And I remember being like pretty hammered at one point, trying to eat a fried shrimp head the wrong way, and just the night was over. Every time I travel, and when I go, I always try to bring back a part of it with me. And how do I implement those techniques and those flavors that I had that are applicable in what I'm doing in my restaurant? Because they're really important, and they're so unique. Like, who better to learn fish butchery techniques than from a sushi chef in Japan? Talk about yield. Talk about incredible, So these guys were constantly pushing me, and every day now I look at things, it's like, okay, we're going to smoke these fish bones, and then we'll use them to make broth later. So you smoke them and you hang them, and you have to have conversations with the health department about what you're doing. Because they don't quite understand it. But then, and we talk about sustainability and using everything, and seeing the fish markets in Japan and walking through Tsukiji and looking at things like, okay, what is this over here? Tuna. It's the eye. Then you move over to the next thing, and there's a collar. And then you have a gill section. And they're selling every little bit. We talk about like learning to work with all these fish. We don't know really how to work with fish in this country. We don't. And I'll be the first person to say I have no clue. If I could have just a smidgen of that knowledge that I saw in Tsukiji, I would be a very, very happy man. Because they were working with cuts that I could never imagine. I've been fortunate enough to roast whole tuna heads. Like, that's not a joke, like a whole tuna head like this big. When I did an event and we served it to like 12 people, I just put it down in the middle of the table. I was like, all right, have at it, folks, and they just start tearing in. But there's a care and respect for the fish and for how to handle it that it was so unique, and it was really an eye-opener. Teaching is a very difficult thing. Teaching in a setting that I was in Top Chef Masters was a lot, I would say it's a lot easier than teaching in a restaurant every day. In a restaurant every day, I have the same amount of people that are in here right now, which all have extremely high expectations of what's being put on their plate, put in front of them, correct? On Top Chef, I had 3 kids that were scared shitless. They were afraid I was going to get sent home. And, it's just a situation of like, all right, make the best of it. Give them an opportunity to learn something. And if I go home teaching them something, then I go home. These kids, all of them now do have, I know that both of them have graduated from school, and both of them are in the full culinary program in Las Vegas, which I'm really excited about. I have heard from both of them. And for me, it was really just, I remember what it was like being scared at school, scared on my job the first time. So it was just kind of a, alleviate situation. And it was just about giving them the knowledge to succeed. They took notes. I was blown away that they took notes. I couldn't even believe they had time to write stuff down, because I was trying to contain my own panic that I had to have 2 kids cook for me to decide whether or not I'm going to make it to the finale. So I think the more you put into your staff, the more you put into educating, the better it is for everyone. Thanks for coming, everybody.